There are 3 types of Star Trek the Animated Series episodes. Type 1 is scripts originally intended for the original series, which, as you know, the same kind of plot points you'd expect in the original series, except they're rushed a bit. The second type is plots written by writers who would have loved to be on the original series and want to do a real Star Trek story. The third type is plots written by people who think that because this is an animated show, it has to be for children, so they write an episode for children. The Ambergris element is the third type. It's unless you are 6 years old, it's barely watchable. The Enterprise gets to a planet that is mostly water. They have to examine volcanism on that mostly water planet for relief efforts on some other similar planets. And there's some cringe monster again that makes cringe monster sounds. And does weird movements on the screen, and it's completely ridiculous and stupid and annoying unless you are 6 years old. And then they encounter some mermaid type of society. And the older mermaids have some prejudice against surface people, but the younger mermaids want to help the Enterprise crew. And then they discover that they were all, the younger mermaid people descend from people who used to be on the surface. They were genetically engineered to be mermaids too. And so they want to reintegrate surface people and mermaid people. And you can sort of imagine that this was something like that had some kind of root in some serious science fiction, like something that might have somehow been intended to be related to some serious science fiction, but it's just so childish from start to finish. Like the cringe monster, for starters, which keeps reappearing and keeps being annoying, and the mermaid people that there's not really any depth there, like if you want to call it that. It's I mean, I have to set my mind back, like this is playing in a time before, TNG and Deep Space Nine, and before Babylon 5, and before the 90s sci-fi television explosion, where a lot of the staple plots that we all came to know happened. So this was at a time when sci-fi television was relatively new. Like, you can't accuse this of being generic because, it came out in the early 70s and a plot like this wasn't actually done before. Like, in hindsight, of course, someone from my generation, I was born 1982, I'm turning 40 this month, is, it's exactly this, almost exactly the same as the Futurama episode where Fry falls in love with a mermaid from Atlanta, from the lost continent of Atlanta. It's just a bit weird, because I think I watched Star Trek the Animated Series at about the same time I watched Futurama. And it's just weird. Like, doesn't have. If I compare, being the generation that I am, if I watch the original series, that completely holds up to today's standards, in my opinion. Obviously, some of the practical effects are a bit dubious, to say the least, by today's standards, but the writing and the acting and the mood and the pacing and the how everything is done, that pretty much holds up. Like, I don't want to compare it to Citizen Kane or other or Casablanca or other classic really old stuff that still holds up. Like, I don't want to claim that TOS is like one of the greatest masterpieces ever written and produced. Well, it does actually come pretty close. If you look past the kind of dubious practical effects, TOS does have some pretty fucking amazing writing in a lot of episodes. Not Spock's Brain or Journey to Eden, obviously, but in a lot of episodes, TOS does have some pretty fucking amazing writing and some pretty fucking amazing acting. So, yeah, it's not like it's a matter of my age being pretty young compared to some really old school Star Trek fans. That I have to look back on something that was done before I was born. That's not the reason I think this is pretty crap, because TOS is not this level of crap. It's just certain animated series episodes that are just, they're made in a way that I think the writers thought, because it's an animated show, they have to write for children. And the whole thing is, it's written like it should only be enjoyable if you are 6 years old or younger, with the cringe monster and the cringe mermaid people, and it's stupid and annoying. This particular episode is stupid and annoying. Like, even the animated series has some pretty cool ideas and some pretty cool, it has some visionary elements, because, it's Star Trek, but without being dependent on practical effects. So they had a lot more options for a lot weirder types of worlds, and it showed in some of the episodes like that they had like classic TOS writing, even though they had to rush it because of the half-hour runtime, except in weirder environments. But there are some episodes where they have the weirder environments. The writing is just really childish and annoying and stupid, and this is one of those episodes. The writing just bothers me because it's obviously written for little kids. This episode, obviously written for little kids, and not in a way that can in any way be enjoyable to adults, because it's just cringe, annoying childishness. I don't know. This is just really weird and unappealing, and something. Considering I talked about it for 10 minutes, it's actually not really worth talking about. This is really one of the absolute bottom level of the animated series, and I shouldn't have spent this much time talking about it, because it's not worth talking about, because it's childish, stupid. It's bottom of the barrel for the animated series. One of the worst episodes. And if you want to watch the animated series, this is one I definitely recommend skipping because it's childish and stupid.